Hi, Kate Dorsey here. Welcome to Wellness Wednesdays. I'm so excited to be here with you guys this week. My apologies about last week and a miscommunication. I was actually volunteering in an incredible leadership training and as a result was unavailable during my regular scheduled time. As a reminder, I do this live every Wednesday. Hey Thomas, good to see you. I clearly still have a squeaky voice. Every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. Why do I only know those two time zones? Because these are the only two time zones I've actually lived in. Anyway, I'm super excited to be on here with you today and really, really excited to talk to you about how do we receive what we want and desire. So clarity is really amazing. It gives us this, oh, there are my beautiful church bells. It gives us this beautiful opportunity to recognize what we want and what we desire. And then you need to get out of the way. So how many times do you find yourself caught up? Hey Joey, good to see you. Hope Charleston's amazing. How many times do you find yourself caught up in like, well, where the heck is it? I said what I wanted, I placed my order, I know exactly what I want, I know how I want to feel, and yet here you are and you've got zero results. And instead you end up feeling like super frustrated, really annoyed, irritated, and then doubt sets in. You stop believing in what's possible. You stop feeling like it's actually going to show up. And so a lot of times what happens is you start to take over. You start to say, well, I got to do this. I'm imagining New York City is absolutely freezing. I'm actually chilly out here, and I think it was like 74, but I'm in the shade. So then doubt sets in, and your desire for what you want, you start to step into like, oh, I got to make it happen. And then you start to run through like, what are the things that you can do? So let's just imagine like you want a relationship and you know how you want it to look. Like, you know that it would feel really amazing to be in an incredible relationship and it's not showing up. And so you start to like get out there. Hey Judith, thanks for joining. You start to get out there and run through all the things that you can do. And when you're doing that, what you're actually doing is you're stepping into, oh wow, Thomas, Puerto Rico, I am jealous. Although I did drive by the beach today. Hey Judith, love you so much. So good to see you. I did drive by the beach today, which was awesome, but it's not quite warm like Puerto Rico. But either way, it was still really beautiful. Anyway, just being outside at this point is amazing after being in a hotel room for a while, but like whatever, who cares? That experience was like beyond words and beyond worth it. Okay, so there you are. You're wanting a relationship. You know how you know what you want to feel, and yet it's not showing up. So then you start to, oh, thank you, Judith. You're amazing. So then you start to like step into like, what am I going to do? What are the things that I can do? How can I, hey, Judy, good to see you, lady. I have like this pip squeaky voice thing happening right now, and it's really kind of funny. It's like every time I hear my voice, I'm like, what is going on? Okay, so there you are. You're wanting to date, you know how you want to feel, and then you keep going into this experience of like, well, it's not showing up and I'm feeling frustrated, so let me get out there and let me like join all the dating apps. And like, y'all, I have done this. Like, I was like, I mean, like, you should see how I've dated. Like, I literally had like back-to-back dates. Like, and then like what's happening though is you're so caught up in the doing and you're like running through all the things that you can do and you're not stepping back and allowing. So there's this really beautiful dance between clarity and action. So you know what you want, and then it's about allowing space for that to come through. When you're so busy controlling, and like, hey guys, honestly, I've been super, super guilty of that. Like, so busy controlling that it was like, oh, I gotta have all these days planned out, all these dates lined up, that like you actually aren't allowing for what you desire to come through. And there's this really, really beautiful art to it. There's literally an art to receiving. It's about allowing. And I'm not saying, guys, like sit back and like don't take action. Yeah, like definitely get out there, but like stop controlling it. Stop demanding that it show up in a specific way. Like if you're saying you want a relationship and then you're saying, but he's got to be 6'2" and incredibly fit and he has to have gray eyes and he needs to have a job as an engineer. I'm going to use that one since that's what my boyfriend does. But like, do you see, like, you're controlling, and like, it's one thing to say like, oh, I'd love to feel loved and supported, cared for, and I'm willing to bring that to the relationship versus I need him to look like this and be this way. So when you're doing that, you're taking over control, and you're like literally what you're doing when you're on a dating app with that attitude, like specifically with that attitude, is you're ruling out all these people. And the same thing goes, like this is applied in so many areas. Like we can talk about health. And we can talk about work, like, oh, I've got to have exactly this job, and if it's not like this exactly and specifically, then that's not going to work. Or I want to work at this one specific place, but you're forgetting that like you can only see what you can see, and there is a divine wisdom that is really influencing the world at large. And if you would just step back and allow it to come forward and stop demanding that it show up by next Monday, you would open up to possibility. Or even with health, that like you must work out this exact amount of times. And like y'all, I mean, given my history, I was super regimented on that. Like, and ultimately it's not about that. It's about being in the space of what you want and desire and allowing yourself to receive. Here's what receiving doesn't look like. It doesn't look like sitting on your couch and never leaving your house. So it doesn't, like, unless like if you're talking about dating, health, or work, like there are miracles. So I will share that like I actually got one of my dream jobs. Like I just literally got a phone call. I never applied. Now I was connected in that like my therapy supervisor was working at the place that I wanted to work at. But like I didn't apply for the job. Instead, I just got a phone call. And so like miracles do happen, and like what would that be like to be like in the miracle zone and to like be able to like really experience all the things that you want and desire. So like it's amazing when that happens, and like you do need to take action. And like what did my action look like? Immediate response, definite yes. And like what do I need to do? And then like everything that I needed to do to follow up to get that. But like so often we're so caught up in controlling the very things that we want and desire and how they're going to show up, what specifically they're going to look like, instead of actually being in the space of how it's going to feel. So being in the space of how it's going to feel is very different than he's 6'2", does CrossFit, and is an engineer, versus the space of it's very loving and it's really fun and there's a lot of humor and laughter. That is a very different context. So I hope that this is making sense to y'all. It's the separation between when you get into what you want, you're really declaring like how you want to feel. And then you need to open up and stop controlling things. Stop saying it's got to be this specific way and it needs to show up exactly like this by this specific time. Because like the truth is, what are you going to do to make it happen? And I'm not talking about getting caught up in doing. I'm not talking about dating how I've dated, where you're like, in 3 back-to-back dates. That's way too much doing. Like you need to step back. Be the mental, physical, emotional equivalent of the thing you want to call forth. 100%. Like that cannot be more beautifully put, because it really is about what do you want to experience. So when you gain clarity over what you desire, ask yourself what you want the experience to be. How do you want to feel in it? And what would that be like for you? And like my favorite thing to do with this is to actually write it out and then to read that to myself. Because then it's like I'm constantly putting myself in the space of like, this is already happening, this is already unfolding, and it feels really, really amazing. And I'm open to the variety of ways, shapes, and forms that it might take place. Like, do I have ideas about things I want and desire? Of course. Don't we all the time? Like when you know what you don't want, you actually do know what you do want, because it's usually the opposite. But it's quite frankly like you've got to open up to trust, to surrender, to let go of how it shows up, when it shows up, and all the things that you're doing to make it happen. Because there's a very different feel to I'm taking inspired action. That's when you're like an idea pops in and you're like, I don't know why, but I just like looked over on Bumble, or like, I don't know why, but I just like, opened an email and there was this thing there. And so like there's inspired action, which is like you really are like getting a download that like there's something that you want to experience and like let's go for it, versus I am so in control that I'm suffocating the life out of what I'm doing. So like it's really, really imperative that you step back and like surrender. Like what would it be like to walk in the world knowing that your ideas and desires are nurtured and supported. I mean, we literally live in an incredibly abundant universe. We've just been programmed for like a long time to not see that, to not recognize that. Like, isn't it amazing when you say you want something and then like lo and behold it shows up? I'll share a really silly example. Earlier this week I really wanted some bacon. Like, I mean, I like literally wanted it. Like, I imagined it and I could like feel myself tasting it. You know how like bacon makes you salivate if you eat meat? And I'm definitely a meat eater now. And like I was like just imagining it, and then like I was in a hotel and I walked by and this door opened, and guess what smell wafted out? Bacon. So I just turned right around and like walked inside, and I got to have bacon, and it was amazing. And like all I had done was say, oh man, I really want bacon. But I let go of like, I had no idea, like I had no clue that there was some breakfast buffet thing. I had no idea how I was gonna get bacon because I didn't have any bacon in the house. And like, I had already made breakfast and was like on my merry way and wasn't gonna like stop over, and like it just like dropped into my lap. Like, I love when that stuff happens, and like I cannot tell you how many experiences I have where things just drop in. And the clearest thing I can tell you about how they drop in, I know what I want, I imagine it, I experience it, I know it's coming for me, and I let go. I stop saying it's got to show up like this. I very much am just in this space of like, let's experience it. And like just trusting. And like, what would change for you if you started to trust that what you want will show up? And not in the way that you're like sitting back and not doing anything. Because if you would like to meet the man of your dreams, I doubt that he is like the UPS driver, like unless you're constantly ordering packages all the time. I mean, a lot of them have the same routes. And so it's like really important for you to recognize that like you can order a lot of things through Amazon, but it's probably not going to be him. So it's really about like, and like, what are you doing? Like, you have to leave your bubble. You can't always just be in your house or like going the same route. Like, switch it up, do some fun things. Or like that time, like we're so often on autopilot and we like drive the same routes. What if you took a different route? What if you like actually heard like turn right and you turned right? You never know. You could have an incredible experience. Hey Jeff, hope Charleston's amazing. I was actually on the phone with a woman from Charleston today, and it was really cool. I just felt the desire to share that. So I hope that this is making sense for you. It really comes down to gain clarity over what you want. Be who you need to be to have the things that you want and desire. And then surrender. Just trust. Let go of control. But be super clear, because whenever you have a conflicting belief, when you're saying like, I want this, but then like, I'm kind of nervous about it, like it won't show up because you're resisting it. So it really is ultimately about stepping back and allowing things to come to you and to let go of the control. Because like when you focus on the experience you want to have, you're not so honed in on all the details. Like, you've got an idea about like, oh, I'd love to go on, I'm going to borrow Thomas's Puerto Rico. Like, I'd love to go on a vacation, and like, how would that feel? And why would I want to do that? Like, and who do I need to be? Fun, adventurous, willing to take a risk, open, you know, excited. And so it's really about who are you being. So I hope that this is helpful. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm so happy to respond. And I will see you guys next Wednesday at 3 p.m. Pacific. I literally just about forgot the time. 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. And so much love to everyone. Bye, y'all.